streaming.
Okay.
I'm not on, Jake.
Am I on?
Check your mic.
Can people hear me?
There we go.
I can barely hear myself. Oh, there we go. I can hear now. Oh, loud.
Is it too loud?
Yeah.
All right, let me check mine.
Is that better?
That's
Ooh,
good.
that's loud.
Better.
My
Is
mic's
there?
not on, though.
Better.
Right there? Still too loud?
It's good.
Somebody give me a this if I'm talking too quiet.
Okay.
It's
Yeah,
hard
my
for me to
mic's
hear
not
myself
on
right
either.
now.
Your mic's not on?
No.
Oh yeah, it is.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I can hear you.
Oh, my ears are. There we go. There. Yeah. Yeah.
Who's good?
That's. It's like okay. Now I'm good. Oh
Must be
no,
bad connection in there.
So many cables
the cables are
taking over.
twitchy. Don't. It's working. Don't.
We'll be
touch
starting in
it.
just a moment, folks.
Don't touch it.
Not touchy.
I would try to pretend like I'm okay, but I feel like the people on this podcast know me well enough to know that if I just do this, it's okay.
Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like brutal honesty is the only way to
Yes.
be able to.
We
handle this
promised we would
podcast.
always be honest with the people on this podcast. I'm about to be brutally honest.
brutal honesty. You're here for one thing. Tell us about your back pedal, and then you can leave.
No,
Then you can pass out.
I'm sticking it out, I promise. I may not mentally be here the whole time, but I will stick it out.
I don't
Mostly
know.
because I want to hear about Lance's 7-hour
Yeah,
ride
that's
yesterday.
true.
Is it herky jerky on your end there watching that too?
Yeah, a little bit.
The audio's there, but let me try something else here.
Anyway, my wife does have otoscope. What is that thing called?
You know Matt Russell, right?
Yeah, he had a good race.
Dude, swimming next to him was hilarious. We actually talked after the race.
Because you guys came out of the water the
We
same.
were beating the crap out of each other in the water.
You're kidding.
After the race, we were joking about, like, I literally came up to him. I was like, hey, by the way, I was like, huge fan of yours. I was like, sorry if I threw a bow. He's like, no, dude, that's great. I love that stuff. It was.
That's awesome.
Because we were both trying to get onto the guy's heels, Pablo Gomez.
Oh yeah. Okay.
I'll talk about it. But yeah, we ended up just
Yeah,
swimming
I'm a
by
big
each
fan
other
of him
and
too.
just, like,
He's cool.
nailed each other just over and over.
Oh my gosh.
It's funny.
Oh, God. He's a tough guy, dude. Matt Russell's tough as nails.
Tough. Absolutely.
tough
I'm just
guy.
glad he's okay, man. He had like this.
That guy had a monster bike.
Yeah.
We
well,
came out of there. I tried to stay with him. I was like, dude, this guy's like
Did you see
sprinting
his
coming
scar?
out.
Like his scars from his yeah. He
He's right there.
car situation.
Super nice.
But
guy,
like,
too.
like sliced throat.
Yeah.
Like
Well, I
that's
don't
not.
think the video's gonna work. I
He was
don't know what
pulling
it is,
glass
but
out of his neck.
we'll get started.
Yeah.
Sorry if the video's choppy, but you can hear us. I hope. All right. Check. Good there. Everybody's cans working?
Yep.
Cool.
That hurt.
No laughing.
No, I'm gonna laugh this whole the
Yeah.
next 2 hours. I'm just gonna laugh.
That
and
would be the
Evan's
same
gonna hate
podcast
me.
as we always have.
He's gonna hate me.
All right.
Criticism and comments are welcome.
Recording has started. You guys ready?
Ready to do this thing? Ready as I'll ever be.
All right. Here we go. Hi, and welcome to the Dial Podcast. I am Jake Vondering, and today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in studio with all my friends.
It's nice having you in studio.
It's been
I
like 3
love it.
weeks, and I just miss you guys. I'm
Yeah.
so happy to be here.
And to his right, Evan Price.
I agree. This is great, guys. What are we all drinking today?
We're sipping on the
Kirkland.
Kirkland sparkling water. This is our sponsor.
I got a Spindrift.
Spindrift. Okay.
I'm not-
Okay.
When are we going to get them to sponsor us?
We need to.
We need to reach
I've
out
been
to
waiting
those
for
boys.
that phone call. They haven't called us yet, so.
Does Costco have a little jingle that we can put in here?
Yeah.
Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet?
Yes.
It's good to see your smiling faces.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. All right. We've got some monstrous back pedals, not from me and not too much from Matt.
Yeah.
This is like single gear backpedaling right now.
Evan and Lance, did you guys arm wrestle to see who gets to go first?
We did not. Who's going first, Evan?
I'm gonna defer to you, so I can gain some energy here.
Yeah, Evan's pretty slacked right now. So, Lance, back pedal for us.
Well, I've got 3 races to talk about. I did a road race, I did a mountain bike race, and I did a gravel race. So I've got.
Are you like trying to go the all around
Wearing the
whatever
T-shirt from it too. Yeah.
I think because I just I don't know what kind of cyclist I am yet, so I'm just doing all of it to see.
What kind of cyclist do you want to be when you grow
I
up?
don't know. I'm just going to do all of it. So I'll start with the road race. It was actually 2 weeks ago. A week and a half ago. I can't remember.
Time is weird.
But the day before, I went to do this road race. It was called the Piece of Cake Road Race.
Oh, yeah.
And I was out on a little warm-up ride, and I ran into Matt, and I had a vertigo attack.
Oh,
God, I
Where-
completely
are we
forgot
gonna-
about
are we
this
gonna
part of the
talk about
story.
this?
I completely forgot about
are we
this.
gonna talk about this?
yeah, we have to.
I'm actually glad because I like because I texted Jake and he was like, "Hey, can't make a ride or whatever," and this was totally like 5-minute warning kind of
Yeah.
thing. And then it was like I was like throwing a leg over the bike and I'm like, I'm heading west towards your house. Like, are you? And you're like, I'm on the bike. Let's meet
hook
up.
up. Yeah.
Let's meet up. Which is awesome that is even possible.
Right. So I'm riding towards Matt, and I'm slowing down for a truck or something, and I get hit with a vertigo attack. And I've never had vertigo before.
Never had this
Never
before.
had it before.
Yeah.
But I slow down. My head just starts spinning. I have to like step off the bike and lay down in somebody's front yard on their grass. And I'm thinking, and it took like 3 minutes to clear. It finally clears. I get back on my bike. I'm thinking, should I keep riding? This is stupid. I'm
As
not sure.
one should. Yeah.
Right. But I'm gonna go and I hook up with Matt, and I'm like, Matt, hey, what's going on? Hey, I just really strange thing. I just had the strangest vertigo attack. I've never had one before. He's like, well, you okay to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's keep going. Sure enough, we come to the very next stoplight, and it hits me again, and I'm like, Matt, I need to go lay down. And I basically stumbled into the grass and started puking.
I think it was like because I was like, oh, you're not gonna throw up, are you? And I think I put that like seed in your head where you're like, then you're like, oh yes, now I am. Thanks for mentioning that.
So I'm puking, and Matt's like, Lance, don't crawl in your own puke, because I couldn't like stay up straight.
Oh man,
It was pretty crazy.
I was
So
really worried about you for sure.
Matt was super awesome. He like walked me home and got me inside the house and set me up with the bowl in case I puked again. He's like, you have some experience taking care of sick people.
Pukey kids.
So,
Yeah. Well, that's been part of my back pedal will be like we've had the flu go through the house, so definitely had the bowl with next to the kids on the couch.
Oh God.
So that's the standard thing for sure. And the video that I promise I will post eventually is like, it starts up me talking about like, hey, we got a sick kid in the house. Here's some workouts that you can do when you're taking care of kids. It's basically the theme of the video.
That's a good idea.
I'm hoping that comes out on Wednesday, the same day that this podcast will come out. That's my goal.
that's the goal.
Yeah.
So
when are we addressing the hard-hitting laundry topics too?
Oh man, I'm totally taking over your back
that's
pedal.
okay. I spent the whole morning trying to fix my washing machines.
Did you really? Yeah. I didn't really accomplish much as far as workouts, but I did post a video on April 1st, aka April Fool's Day, where I decided that I was going to change my triathlon YouTube channel to only talk about laundry, the fourth discipline of triathlon. And I think it had some good, commentary and stuff like that. So good, received well.
Picked
So-
up a couple
sounds
good
funny,
followers.
Yep.
So anyway, the next day is the Piece of Cake Road Race. I don't know if I should do it or if I shouldn't.
Yeah.
I woke up and kind of felt okay, and I thought, I'm just going to drive down there and see what's up. But so I go down there. I'm racing it's a Cat 345 race, and it's the 40 to 49-year-olds. So there was about 30 people in the race, and we had 10 teammates in it.
That's so ridiculous.
We had 10
Jeez.
teammates racing in it, which was just fantastic. And I actually was feeling fairly good, and so I thought, okay, it's about a 55-mile race, 4 laps, some little punchy rollers, but no real big climbs. And
Were you scared during the whole race? Like,
Yeah.
This thing could hit at any
It
time.
could hit at any time.
Yeah.
But I just like put it out of my head and kind of went. So the race starts off pretty slow, and of course it's way too slow for our teammate Chris Hannell, Dr. Chris Hannell, who's got a motor. And
He's a beast on the bike.
because we had talked about the 3 people that we were going to try to work for. It was going to, out of the 10 people who were racing, was really Chris Hannell and Chris Surratt and myself. We're going to try to work it. But Chris took off and joined up with another guy at like mile 4.
He's like, screw
it was going way too
screw
slow.
this plan.
And he rolls up and he goes, "Hey, you guys, I'm just going to go." And we're like, "Dude, if you can get in the break, go."
Yeah.
Fantastic. If all 3 of us had gone at that point, they would have chased us down.
Did you try and say something just before he left to him though? Because I think I talked to him.
Oh.
And he's telling me, because I wanted the race report, and he was the first person to call me back. And I love his race reports because they're always comical, and I like to get his
yeah.
perspective.
He would be great. If we could get him on the podcast, he would be
Well, he was on the
fantastic.
He was
podcast
on
when
at
we did
training
the
camp.
Training camp.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah,
we
that's
talked about the route planning, but he made a comment. He's like, whenever I do racing with you, you're always like playing my dad. Like, no, don't go yet. Just hold on. It's like, get back here. Hold on. Not yet. Not yet. And like, he's like, I thought Lance was going to try and be you and turn into dad out there on the course. And he said that you said something, but he wasn't sure what it was. And like, all he heard was, wah, 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 and then he rode off. So I was
My
like,
comment was, I was like, "Have fun, Chris.
okay.
We'll see you at the end," is what I said. And I waved at him as he went. So, yeah, I was like all for it. If you
So
go,
you're fun Uncle Lance and I'm mean dad.
That's right. so he
I don't
takes.
understand how other teams are like seeing Lance wave at his teammate, like, "See you later," and they're not like, "Okay, well, I guess they're gonna go." It's not like that's not very much of a sneak attack.
It's because I can't take anything seriously, Matt. Nobody like takes me seriously because I'm always cracking stupid jokes, even when we're riding around in the group.
You're like the opposite of like the overseer of the Peloton. It's like whatever the opposite of that. It's like the jester of the Peloton.
The Peloton clown.
Yes.
Yeah.
So Chris gets away with one other guy, and they're just kind of going, and It wasn't more than 2 or 3 minutes later when 2 guys attacked. Chris Surratt went, and I went with them, and me and Chris got in a second breakaway. So
How deep into the race were you again?
6 miles, 7 miles.
Okay,
So
so you
every
have
move
50
happened
miles
in
to
the
go,
first
basically.
lap.
50 miles to go.
So wait, so you had 4 people in a second breakaway, and
Yep.
you guys are basically like, "We're not gonna work."
Correct.
We have a guy in the lead up there.
Exactly.
Okay.
It
Nice.
was fantastic. And 7 teammates behind us
Yeah.
who were
Blocking.
disrupting the
Yep.
rest of the, not doing any work and disrupting. It worked
Oh, that's awesome.
beautifully.
That's awesome.
So me and Chris in a breakaway with 2 other guys. We're 40 seconds behind.
Were the 2 other guys
Hannell.
really angry at you guys?
No,
Did they?
because we
No,
we,
they know.
we
I
did
mean,
our
you should
work,
know.
and we
did a
did
little bit of
work.
work.
We just didn't take as long of pulls.
Right.
It's like and we knew it's your guys' job to pull us up if you want to catch him. But me and Chris were not going to try to catch.
No, I mean that's totally fair,
Yeah.
and everyone gets that. But still, you have if I were them, I would pretend to be snarky, like, "Come on, do your maybe something like."
weren't.
They were cool. They were like,
They were
whatever.
cool. Yeah. It was good racing. So Chris
Yeah.
and the other guy stayed away. Chris ended up second, and then the 4 of us, we were about 2 minutes behind them. We got actually held up by a truck that pulled out in front of us. So we lost a minute in the middle of the race. We were just about ready to pull them back, but we lost a minute. So, and then Chris Surratt led me out to try to win the sprint.
for third. Yeah.
But there was another guy who got me by half a wheel at the line, and he was a solid Cat 3 racer, and I'm still a Cat 5
Yeah.
junkie.
Technically, yeah.
And
So I ended up fourth.
You felt no problem. Did you feel any sort of dizziness after you stopped or anything?
Nothing. I've had 0 issues since that
Interesting.
puking in the grass day.
My guess is like we were talking about at Matt's birthday party, Lance, is it was probably just like a quick BPPV, and when you were puking and stumbling around, you just knocked your crystals back in somehow.
That's what I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You were still busy. You were pretty dizzy when you got back to your house and got on the couch,
Yes.
and you were exhausted.
Yes. 4 hours.
Yeah,
for hours.
That's scary.
Yeah.
You did the Epley maneuver too, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I did the Epley, but I didn't. It didn't give me any new symptoms when I did it. And if you've got a crystal loose, it should reinvigorate your symptoms if
Gotcha.
you're doing Epley, and it didn't happen. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just
You were probably already fine
weird.
by that point then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
so pretty crazy. Anyway, so Hanel took second, and I ended up fourth, just off the podium, and Surratt was fifth, right behind me because he led me out. He sacrificed himself.
How do points work for that? Do you get like, oh, you beat all the other 5, so do you get more points or anything? Or
No,
okay.
it's
No.
all.
It's going to be a mass start race, and it has the maximum number that you need to get the most points for a field. Like if it was like under 10 people in the race, then he would have gotten less points. But
You got whatever 4th place points.
you
Yeah.
got 4th place points for a mass start of, I think, a field greater of 25 or something like
Yeah,
that. So
something like that.
you'll get something like 4 or 5 points for that to go
And you
towards your
need
upgrade. Like
15, or is it 10? 15?
to go from a, are you a
5
5?
to 4.
I'm a 5.
Okay. I think it's only 10 points.
Yeah.
So you'll probably, because Jack Frost doesn't count towards that. That's the first road race. You did dirty. No, you didn't do dirty circles.
I didn't do either of those. Yeah.
Did you? And you didn't do any road racing last year?
No.
Yeah, you still have a couple races to go
Yeah.
then. You will did you do any PR last year?
Yeah, I did a bunch.
Some of those will count towards this as well. So you're going to be getting that upgrade email probably in the next race or two.
That's okay. I was happy. I mean, the top 10 guys were all 3s, and
Yeah.
I was 4th.
On paper, you're a 5.
Yes.
Yeah.
On a bicycle, you're a 3.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just-
And a good 3. Yeah.
So
So yeah, that's the road race.
Yeah. Race 1.
Race 1.
race 2.
Race number 2. So I did the Mudslinger mountain bike cross country race, and it's an 18-mile race that has about 3,000 feet of climbing.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez.
So on a mountain bike, and it had been raining for a couple of days.
Looks sloppy.
It was super sloppy and super muddy.
Greasy.
Did you wipe out?
It was greasy. I did not wipe out.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah. Big mass start, one big wave, but we're all in thing. And again, it was me and Chris Surratt.
Yep.
That guy's like your best friend
We
now,
are, man. We're total buds. I love it.
which is awesome. He's like the best person. If you're going to have a cycling buddy, he's super chill.
oh,
He's super happy all the
I'm
time.
just so glad that he was there. So
Yeah.
we were both racing Cat 2. This is mountain bike Cat 2. There's only 3 categories, 1, 2, and 3. And we were racing Cat 2, 40 to 49. And it was so dirty and so muddy. I mean, there was all these single track downhills, and you were like locked up, skidding, sliding through these downhills, and it was a little bit crazy. Have you done that race before, Jake?
I have not.
Did your sunglasses just get completely caked?
I didn't even wear them.
Oh, yeah.
Were you just like windshield wipers?
Yeah,
Thing?
I didn't even wear them.
What
I didn't
much-
even put them on.
What
my
day was
helmet.
this again here?
This was Saturday.
Saturday.
How much
Yeah.
mud and grime did you get in your eyes? Did you have any problems that way? Because I know that Robert Cummings had an issue with his
He
cornea
did.
getting scratched. Was it because of that?
Yes. So
Wow.
same thing. Robert couldn't wear glasses either, and a chunk went into his eye, and he scratched his cornea, and his
gosh.
eye was like almost swollen shut, and he won by minutes. Robert just smoked us.
Yep.
And then he raced the next day, right?
He did.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So anyway, long story short, it was like an hour and 40-minute battle, and Chris and I ended up going first and second in that
Wow.
race.
Nice.
We had a group of, there was 30 I think in our category, and we were first and second. We thought we were second and third, but the guy who won had inadvertently cut the course. He didn't.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh,
He
that's
did-
a new. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there was he missed a turn and didn't even realize he missed the turn.
That's too bad.
So, and he had beat us by like 5 minutes, and me and Chris were like, "Where did that guy come from?" Because we were like watching and looking for guys, and we didn't know where he came from. And he's a cross racer that we have both handily beat.
Uh-huh.
And so we're like, "Dude, good for you. That was totally awesome. Congrats!" And it turned out that he skipped 4 miles.
How did they find out?
His
He posted
Strava.
GPS. Yeah.
Oh, did somebody call him out?
No, I think he self-reported.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's good.
Yes.
Totally.
Yeah, totally class move.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it. I mean, it's tough because he's like, hey, this was an accident. Sorry. You know.
Right.
And he
Yeah.
probably knows too, like, I shouldn't beat these guys. Like something's
Right.
something's fishy here.
So you guys need to all drive back down to Corvallis and get back up on the
That's
podium,
right.
take a new picture.
There you go.
So yeah, so Chris Surratt took first, and I think that's his third podium as a Cat 2, so he's going to be upgraded to a Cat 1.
Yeah, he's freaking strong.
And I was second, and Terry Hamness was fourth. He was about 4 minutes
Nice.
behind us, and Brian Wise was there, and Mark Westfield was there.
Sonia
and
Ebert was there?
Sonia Ebert was there.
all the Westerfield kids.
Yeah.
Paul First.
Paul First.
Robert Cummings,
Robert
yeah.
Cummings raced it for
How'd
Dial.
Paul and Robert do?
Robert won
He
the
was
elite
the
by
elite.
minutes.
Yeah.
Wow.
He won last year as well. He's just screaming
Yeah.
fast.
Yeah.
So
And there's so much climbing. There was so much climbing in this and the climbs
That's his
were
ballpark?
were not difficult. I mean, they weren't technical climbs. They were just long, grinding uphill gravel climbs.
yeah, Robert's watts per kilo were like through the roof. He's so strong.
What do you think
And
he's at?
weight wise? His
Watts per kilo.
Oh, I think his FTP is and
5'2", 5'3".
probably up there
Yeah.
somewhere. I think his
Yeah.
FTP was in the ballpark of like 360.
Probably.
I bet.
But he only weighs like 145 pounds.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
mean,
That's crazy.
He's
I
a-
bet
Oh,
Paul
he's-
did really well on a course like
He's
that. also.
5'5" then.
Yeah, he
Close.
did well too, but he raced as an elite, and
Oh, okay.
he,
That's hard.
He raced in the elite field, and
yeah.
But he's just good.
was
like
top
that's
10, I
that's-
think.
That's
Yeah.
kind of seems like his style. Like
Yeah.
a lot of climbing, a
Good
lot
for
of
Paul. That's awesome.
It's good
Yeah.
technical bike handler.
Yeah, he is.
so.
yeah. So that was a ton of fun out there to do well. So
Nice.
yeah, and my clothes were so filthy that I threw them in the washing machine. They clogged the drain in my washing machine. I should have hosed them down first. It was so
That is
filthy.
hilarious.
laundry is super important, Lance.
That's right.
You should check out my
Wait.
channel.
I should
Wait for Matt's next episode.
check,
Yeah.
check out my channel.
I ruined my washing machine.
So you got the little hose sprayer thing on your Sprinter.
I
van.
did.
And I think you took a picture. Like one leg was just covered in mud, and the other one you looked like you'd sprayed off, and it was like, wow, that was pretty nasty
it was
stuff.
pretty nasty stuff. Yeah. So that was on Saturday, and the next day was the Gorge Gravel Grinder, which is the gravel event. Any other questions about the mountain bike race?
Dude, I hear that a lot. It seemed like a lot of people were super pumped about that Gorge Gravel Grinder. Like that, I saw people coming from Bend and all over the place.
So
It's a great race.
It's sold out a few
Yeah.
weeks ago.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so you couldn't get into it. It was very difficult to get in. But then the weather just completely deteriorated this week. And the Dalles, Oregon, where the start was, it normally gets about 12 inches of rain a year.
Yeah.
It got 2 inches of rain last week.
Oh man.
Like in the 3 days leading up to it, it got 2 inches of rain.
Well, you're lucky there weren't landslides, right? I mean,
It's kind of farm flat country. I mean,
Right.
rolling hills kind of stuff. Once you get out to where the race course is at, so I don't know if you're going to have
not
to deal
that
with that.
style.
It's not that style, but you're going to definitely deal with a lot of mud and ruts and
right.
wind.
And it's usually, just glorious gravel roads, and it's great racing out there, and it can be windy. But with all the rain, a lot of the gravel roads just turn to mud.
do you wish you had your I don't know I don't know what you rode, but like, did you wish you had your mountain bike?
No, it would have been significantly slower on the mountain
Yeah.
bike. But they had recommended using either 28 tires
Yeah.
or 32 tires, and those were mistakes. You needed a 40. To really be, it just got so bad. So the Gorge Gravel Grinder, there were 3 distances. There was a 103-mile race with 8,000 feet of climbing. There was a 75-mile race with like 5,000 feet of climbing. And then there was a 50-mile race with like 3,000 feet of climbing or something like that. And tons of people, when they showed up and they heard how the conditions were, switched from the long one to the big one.
Which is probably smart.
So there were like 150 people signed up for the 103-mile race. About 30 finished.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
You
it-
earned that shirt, man. Oh, my God.
So, and there was a point like 25 miles in that you
Right.
could decide if you were gonna go short, if you were gonna not do the long one, and tons of people who were signed up for the long one went short.
Which makes sense. I mean, it's like if you're in there and you're like, these conditions are not good. Like, you're signed up for 103 miles. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna either like spend the night out on the roads, on the
Right.
gravel roads, or you're gonna be smart and
There were tons of DNFs. There were and it was 40 degrees and raining the whole time. So there were
Windy.
hypothermia issues. There was wind. Some of the muddy roads were just nasty because of the mud. There was flat tires and broken chains and broken spokes, and there was so much carnage out there. So that just it was probably one of the hardest days I've ever had on a bike, because it took me 7 hours to do that 103-mile course.
which is actually pretty fast.
And
That's really fast, Lance. Yeah.
I'm not sure. The results are still fluid, but I think I took third overall in the Masters men over 45 in the long one.
Are there points for that
And
one?
that's a big.
Or
I mean,
is-
people traveled for that. That's a
is.
big regional race.
Yeah. But again, there weren't maybe 30 or 40 people actually
finishers.
finished it.
Yeah.
So that it ended up not being quite that big. But this was another thing, and this is a question for you guys. So it was so rainy and so muddy and so windy that with my glasses on, I couldn't see very well. And so quickly, I took my glasses off, put them on my helmet, and I pretty much rode without any eye protection for 7 hours. And as the day progressed, my vision got worse and worse and worse. I got like so much stuff in my eyes that everything went cloudy. It was like
Yeah.
I didn't know what to do. I mean,
Were you getting a little nervous?
yes.
Yeah.
I got really nervous because what ended up happening is the last 20 miles or so are downhill.
Yeah.
And there's like a 5-mile gravel descent, and I just bombed this gravel descent.
Lance, what are you doing, man? You're like, I
I
can't.
was so ready to be done with it.
Yeah.
I mean, I blew past some people, some guys. I scared some people because I was going so fast.
You're
And
like,
then
I can't see, but I'm. Gonna
I
bomb
can't
this
see, but
descent.
I'm just
Ugh,
going.
come
Well,
on, man.
I went out and pre-rode that difficult section earlier in the week, so I had some familiarity with it.
That's good.
And it was totally dry and beautiful, and I'm like, this race is going to be awesome. And then it was totally sucked. But the last 15 miles, I got in with a group of 5 guys on pavement, and we were just pace lining.
That's
and,
fun.
I had to put my glasses on because nobody had fenders, of course.
Yeah. So
it was
And
just spraying
it
on
was
back
just
there.
spraying right in your face, and I literally could barely see the tire in front of me. So it was really sketchy. And it
dude.
came down to the very end, and there were 3 of us that were masters, and we didn't know we were all masters.
Oh, yeah.
And like we didn't even sprint because
Yeah. You're like, forget this. Let's just finish.
So like I missed out on second place by like 1/10 of a second because none of us sprinted at the end because we were just like, okay, we just need to be done.
Yeah.
So
I
but
wouldn't
it was
worry
crazy.
about that. Yep.
I got to the end. I was basically hypothermic. Most people were.
Yeah.
I ended up laying in my van for 3 hours trying to stop shivering, and I could not see. I couldn't see any writing on my phone. I couldn't see curbs or lines. I couldn't drive.
No.
And I had to drive like an hour and a half home from the Dalles.
Oh, my Lord.
And I was like, okay, I'm gonna walk over to where the food is. And as I'm walking over there, I like almost ran into some people because I didn't see them coming. And then I tripped on a curb, and I'm like, nope, I'm going back to my van until I can
We're
see.
going back to the van, and I'm gonna lay down.
It was. It
Good
was.
thing you had your van there.
How's the
dude.
vision now?
I'm okay now, but like all last night, I couldn't see.
And Lance is like giddy today too.
I'm
This
like ready
is-
to go ride. I'm
Oh
like,
my
let's go.
God.
Jake hasn't ridden for a whole week. I think we need to go do 40 miles today.
Good God, Lance is like a machine right now. That's what is that? 10 hours of racing in the last 2 days?
I think so.
You need to
Oh my
sleep at some
God.
point.
I did sleep last night, so
Yeah.
but
Like a rock.
it was just a little crazy nuts that I had a pretty good run, a good start to the season. I got 4th in that road race and 2nd in the mountain bike race and 3rd in the gravel race. So
He's gonna be upgrading
That's-
like it's nobody's business here and
It's
everything.
great that you did well in these races. I am glad that you are okay. and
Me
you are
too.
like,
Oh my
joining
gosh.
us here on the podcast.
It
You
was
see where
a
I'm
little-
getting at with that,
I
Lance?
do. I know.
Yeah.
I take some chances. There was a.
It just makes for exciting stories, but yeah, please don't go down out there.
There was a couple of big crazy descents, and after one of them there was like an 11-mile uphill climb, and the guys catch back up to me and he's like, dude, you flew past me on that descent. And I'm like, descending's all about a clear conscience.
And
I
not
got
being
a
able to
clear
see your line.
conscience, so if I go down the
You
descent,
can
I've
see the
lived a good
danger,
life.
so yeah.
Yeah, this whole like past week, I was like kind of whining and moaning to my wife a little bit. Like, man, I gotta miss these races. I mean, I'm having fun with the family and all that. And I'll get into that just in just a minute. But I was whining and crying about that, and just thinking like when I woke up yesterday morning, I'm like, yeah, they're all out there riding right now, having fun. Because I did the race last year and I loved it, and I was like lamenting about how much I wanted to be out there. And then the race reports started to come in, and the
brutal.
Strava post started to post up, and pictures started to hit Facebook. I'm like, ooh, that was rough.
Yep.
So,
Not so jealous now.
yeah. And then watching the mudslinger race, I just saw how muddy that was. Granted, it's only like 5 miles of single tracks that were like kind of muddy and sloppy.
Correct.
Like, yeah, my shoulder probably.
That would have been rough. Yeah.
It's good that I missed that because I didn't need to go down.
I only lost to Chris on that by like 40 seconds.
Really?
I was like right on his tail. And
Yeah.
as we got to the final climb, I could see him, and I was trying to reel him in, but I was just cooked.
He knows exactly what's going on.
Oh,
He gets
yeah.
out there and he's got that fighting spirit about him. He's paying attention, and he's like, haha, I got you out there. And he'll work as hard as you're working, and then he'll watch you sit up, and he'll sit up, and he just keeps that pace. So
I just loved it. It
Yeah.
was great riding with
he's
him.
a great guy to race with.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's the most varied like race report I think we've ever had. That's awesome. That's literally 3 different types of racing.
It was nasty.
Yeah.
It was
Good job, Lance.
Thank you.
Lots and lots of team points too. The team appreciates that. So Evan gets to backpedal now, and we officially get to say that we are sitting at the table with a professional triathlete.
Yes.
Evan, backpedal for us.
Well, I am wearing a sweatshirt, and I am disheveled right now, I think is the word I'm going to use. I have an ear infection right now that has taken just about everything out of me in the last 24 hours since the race ended.
That's just what you want when you have to get on a plane and fly home
Oh,
from Texas
God.
to the Pacific Northwest.
I-
my
Lord,
gosh.
man.
Any young child who has been on a plane and has cried from ear infections, I will never look at your parents mad again. Oh my gosh, that was terrible. Oh yeah, altitude and ear infections are rough, but yeah, this was yesterday was absolutely awesome. It was a brutally tough day, but a day that has been. It was really cool leading into the race because I was getting a lot of texts and messages from a lot of my friends who, and just the community back in Dayton, Ohio, that I had started triathlon with, and I kind of realized really I started this sport like almost 10 years ago now.
My gosh.
So it's been a long time coming, and there were people who I had confided in at that time saying like, yeah, I want to do the sport professionally at some point, long before I was even ballpark fast enough for that to be a reasonable thing to hope for. And it was cool for me to give them that they were, a couple of them were like parent figures to me too. So they just to be able to give back to them and say, like, this is what you guys did for me. And I, didn't peter out on the sport at some point and stuck with it. And it wasn't always pretty, and I've always told people I'm not a talented triathlete by any means, but it took me a decade, but finally got to a start line.
Are you
So
like the Rudy of triathlon? Just
I
never
would
give
I
up?
would compare it to that because I am not talented. No. When I
Oh, come on,
when I
man.
compare myself to guys I was towing the line with yesterday, just their resumes, and Matt knows this too. Like my resume is not impressive.
Yeah, but those guys have been pro for a long time, and it just takes time that you have.
It does.
This
does.
is your first race as a pro.
Yeah.
And there are different types of talent, and one type of talent is like being able to work hard consistently, and you've got that piece of the puzzle.
It's like the one part that I got. So
Which
thank God I got that part.
like if you were like, hey, I'm gonna race the 1 mile race, like I would be like, you might not have the talent to do it, but in triathlon, like you need that talent that's like, hey, I can go work.
Yeah.
Like, and that's where you're talented.
Yeah.
So I think that you're lucky that you have that bit on lock.
Definitely.
So.
And I had never, and Matt knew this, I had never really been this confident going into a race before. Like I was nervous, but I had done enough fitness checks going into this, knowing that I was in shape that I don't think I had ever seen before. I think on this podcast I talked about goals before this race for just my training, and I wanted to go under 115 and a half, which I went well under. I went 113.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I wanted my FTP to be 5, and it was very close. I think we had guesstimated my FTP was like 335, 340, but going into this race. And my swim, I wanted to go under 5 minutes in the 400 yard, which did not happen, but I was swimming okay going into it. So,
and these are goals for the end of the season.
Yeah.
And this is the first race of the
very
season.
first race of the season.
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So I think I was confident because I was hitting what almost seemed like mid-season sort of fitness, like right off the bat here. So going into the race, I knew it was a fast field, but I was like, I actually think I can be around these guys. Yeah, around them. Funny story, race morning. So I will at the end talk about Cassie, my mother, and my father were the only reason that I'm not still in Galveston on the side of a road right now. Like, I mean, literally they are the only reason I actually completed that race. But so I'm very much a creature of habit for anybody who knows me. So when I got to the tent, the pro tent, they just send you over to and you get your packet stuff, but you still have to go and get your timing chip after that. So me, thrown off of my usual rhythm where you go through the line, you get your stuff, I'm over at this tent where they're like, oh yeah, we'll get you your stuff. And they go and grab my stuff and give it to me. I'm like, oh, I'm good to go. Walk out, hang out all day, relax. Later that evening, we eat dinner and I realize I don't have a timing chip. I was looking through the bag. I'm like, I don't have a timing chip.
So they do it differently for pros. They have you like go through and get your timing chip somewhere else.
It's at a completely separate table.
Okay.
So no,
Gotcha.
you get your packet and everything. You still get your timing chip where everybody else does.
Okay.
I just bypassed that because I'm an idiot. So I have no timing
That's why
chip.
you got to do these races to learn a
exactly.
little how the process works.
So I go back to Ironman Village later that day. The guys are gone. They're like, don't worry, just get it in the morning. Morning comes, setting up
stressful.
transition,
Yeah.
meeting some of the guys. I got to, see Starkowitz again, who his coach was a good family friend of ours. Got to meet Matt Russell, who's an awesome guy. Feeling good. All right, let's go down, get the timing chip real quick. Putting on the wetsuit, getting everything ready. The woman tells me, timing chips aren't here yet, but the person's coming. Don't worry. We are 5 minutes away from me needing to get into the water to warm up.
Wow.
So 15 minutes, I kind of decided at that point, like Cassie and my mom were telling me they were stressing out more than I was at that point. Because at that point, I was like, she's on her way. It's fine. Like, it'll be okay. Just getting the
That's what you're
wetsuit on.
telling yourself.
I'm walking up towards the water, and this woman's like running up next to me and has the timing chip and just like hands it to me. Just put it on, jump in, warm up, completely forget about it by the time this starts. But that was
Personal concierge out there.
literally, I got the timing chip as I was walking up to go into the water.
Wow.
Yeah. For any triathlete listening, that's some stress right before your race right there. But yeah, so the swim is in this kind of protected area of the Gulf. Galveston's kind of a like an offshoot island. I wouldn't even know what to call Galveston.
Yeah, it is like
off
it's
of
like
Houston.
a long island.
Yeah,
or
and
whatever.
you're on the inland
Right.
portion of it swimming for this race.
Sort of protected.
Yeah, but it got choppy out there in the middle. Yeah,
I'm
not
jumping
like
ahead, but didn't they cancel the part of the race for the you guys.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
fast
they
people
did.
finished.
yeah.
But
Yeah,
they-
to fast forward to that, they did. There were a bunch of people who got stranded out on the course because a monster storm hit at like 2 p.m. So like I was in a restaurant eating by that point, but like people who were still out on the course got pulled off. I talked to somebody in the airport who got pulled off a quarter mile from the finish.
Oh,
it's kind of one of those things
That's
like
terrible.
if
Yeah.
you're not going to finish in under probably 6 or 7 hours or something like that, they're just like
They're gonna
you're
blow
done.
you off at that point. Yeah, and the finish line had blown over too. It was like it was a wreck there. But I mean, I feel for the race directors there because I've been in situations where I worked for a local race company, and when the weather
Could have
gets
been
bad,
worse though. I mean, there was
Yeah.
was it an Ironman? It was in it was in Africa. If I'm not mistaken, like South Africa. There was 2 people who died on the swim yesterday.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, at the African Championships yesterday.
Yeah, somebody went into convulsions, and another person they suspect had a heart attack.
Because I'm pretty sure
on the
that's an
swim.
ocean swim. And that's a tough swim too. Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
reading about that last night, going, "Ooh, that's not good."
Yeah. There's been a couple of those in the last couple of years. It's just been tough swims. People having cardiac issues with them. I don't know. It's scary stuff.
It's
but
really scary.
It is.
Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah. So we're lining up for the start, and I kind of in my head really was trying to play over like, okay, I'm going to race with respect, but I'm not going to respect anybody during this swim. Like if I end up next to somebody, I'm just going to beat the crap out of them to get position, basically. Like that was literally my goal. I was like,
so glad I don't
like,
race with you.
Like I am not going to lose feet here, because my goal was like, I want to make this chase pack. So race goes, and to be honest, it wasn't as brutally fast of a start as in my head, I thought I was going to look up after 4 strokes and like Starkowitz was going to be like at the first buoy.
Yeah.
It like we were fighting in a group for a little bit, and then it started to separate.
Do you feel like you went out really hard?
I did, but I recovered really well. I think my swim training over the last couple months has really paid dividends.
Yeah.
Now I will say later in the swim I felt super fatigued, but that was because we were going hard from the start. And all of a sudden these 2 packs form, and I find myself at the front of the second pack, which to me, I'm thinking everybody in that pack, I'm like, well, I'm sorry guys, I'm not bridging this gap. So looks like I'm our pacer. So I pace us all the way to the first buoy. Like I am pacing this second pack, which in my head, I'm like, this is not right. Like there's no way that this is right.
Yeah. But if you're, mentally, if you're just like, well, this group will come by me at some point and I'll hang,
And this was, so Pablo Gomez comes by me right at the buoy, decently strong swimmer. I mean, for this second group of guys, decently strong swimmer. And he starts leading us down the entire back straight, which it gets choppy. During that back straight, Matt Russell, who was, I'm going to get this wrong, he was top 10 at Kona this last year. So a bona fide racer. Very, very, very fast.
He is an Ironman champion.
Yeah.
He has won Ironman races before.
Now, he is not a terribly strong swimmer for that level. So he was in our group, and he comes up next to me, and we start just elbowing each other in the head for the next probably 300 meters, just back and forth hitting each other. And we're both trying to get to Pablo's feet, and we had talked after the race. I think we both deterred each other from actually making it to his feet because we were both hitting each other so much.
It's just hammering each
other. And
other.
the people behind us were just letting us do this thing. So
they're like, great, look at this.
Yeah, exactly.
Look at the wake.
Yeah, like perfect. There's just 2 guys right there, just slip right in. And it starts to get choppy. We lose Pablo's feet by not much. It was like by 10 feet. But here's a lesson I learned. That 10 feet's a big deal. You have to expend so much more energy if you're not on those feet.
It's like a draft on the bike, but times 700 or something.
Yeah, but it's harder to bridge the gap.
Well, I don't know. That's not.
It's a little bit harder to, like, on the bike. You can kind of get up, sprint real quick. It's hard in swimming to bridge like a 10-foot gap.
You can't accelerate as fast.
Yeah,
but if you're not like a great pure swimmer.
So water's so much thicker, so draft matters more. But you're going so much slower, so it doesn't balance out exactly. But it's weird.
It is comparable to some extent though. But I started to get tired on the swim and had to really work to keep that gap. So we get out of the water. I'm second out of this group of I think we were like 6 guys or something.
Oh, really?
Like that.
That's pretty. I didn't realize you were.
What happened was I'm sprinting to catch up to Pablo, and I'm getting towards him, and I drop my goggles and cap. Turn around, have to go get that. Having trouble getting my sleeve off. So I thought I had a terrible T1 by the time I got on the bike. Turns out my time was fine for T1.
2 minutes or something.
I was like 10 seconds behind everybody. Yeah. But that 10 seconds, I lost the group of guys I should have stayed with.
Which I think is okay. And we've talked about this before, but it's like, I think you're going to be happier biking on your own.
Yeah. And I was lucky enough to be the group of swimmers that came out. There were some really strong cyclists in there.
Yeah.
Matt Russell being one of them, Colin Lafferty being the other one. There were a couple really, really strong cyclists there. So it was a crosswind sort of ride. Tail crosswind on the way out, tail head on the way in, or crosshead on the way in. And basically it was like 22 miles just dead out to a turnaround and back. And not a lot of elevation change, if any. Basically a highway overpass. So you were just tucked in aero for as long as your brain could stand it. And for me, I basically told myself, like, my glutes were screaming at me at some point. I said, you got to bridge to somebody. Like, at some point, just catch somebody.
Just something.
So I was basically racing just to catch anybody at that point. And I think right after the turnaround, I brought in like 3 guys, like pretty decently close to session. And just blew by him. Like, I didn't want to play games and try and draft anybody. I was just trying to like race at that point.
Jeez.
But the whole field was separated because it was these crosswinds. So there wasn't really groups forming out there. And Starkowitz had blown up the front group. Like when I was going out to the turnaround and saw Starkowitz, he was minutes ahead of the second group.
Oh wow.
I mean, he was like,
That good.
he was putting out some work. And on the way back in, I started to realize I'm going to put down a really good bike time. I probably need to get myself under control.
Yep.
And then I saw a guy out in front of me, who I'm going to be racing with through a lot of this day. And this was probably with 5-10 miles left. And that was, instead of resting at that point, I really started to dig to try to bridge to him. Maybe bridge to about 30 seconds, maybe going into transition. And I think at this point I was sitting either 14th or 15th. I'm not sure.
I thought you were 13th.
I may have been 13th at that point. Yeah. I knew I was close to the top 10. I know I wasn't in the top 10. I knew I was in the conversation at that point.
And I thought, when I saw your swim, I was like, ooh, that's a slow swim. And then I started to think about it and was like, no, it's not. It's not at all.
Yeah.
It's like, that's whatever. That's probably 2 minutes faster than, like it could have been, a 30+ minute swim or whatever. It's just
on not a. I mean, you look at the top 73 guys these days are coming out in 22.
Yeah.
The top guys came out 24.
Right
there. So it was not the world's fastest swim by any means. It was a tough swim. The bike was definitely made for speed, but you had to hold the arrow. Like, I think that's what made that bike hard.
Couldn't move a whole lot. You're just down the whole time.
You're just down with your head down basically the whole time.
Yeah.
So coming off, my legs actually felt great. They really did.
When you started running.
Yeah. Started running. And I was basically holding 5:48 pace, I think, through up to 4 miles, maybe drop to 6 flat till 10K.
Maybe because there was like some hills in there or something like that. But
there were.
Basically, you're holding that kind of 5:40 effort from what I could see. Because what I noticed was everyone else at the same mile also hit a slower mile, basically. Either that was 6:15 or 6:40 or whatever it was. So there's some hill there. So that's almost a wash.
And there was, just to give people an idea of this course, I think this was a new run course for this. This run course had 9 turnarounds total. And more turns than I'd even like to count. It was, you were either turning or turning around the entire run.
That might be good for you though, because you can accelerate. You can. I feel like you've got like interval sets in that you've done.
I do definitely have some springiness, but I think what was my problem was I was really trying to pace off the guy in front of me who actually put down one of the fastest runs of the day. And I closed at mile 6 or 7 to about 10 seconds off of him. Like I was close. And we were battling with a couple other guys who were really close to us too. And then, I mean, anybody who's watching my splits knows mile, I think 8 came around and the lights went out. And it was not like a slow process. It was like all of a sudden, okay, there's nothing. And it was not muscular. It wasn't cramping. It was like my brain didn't want to tell my legs to move much more. So I don't think it was nutrition or anything like that. It was talking with some guys after. I think it was the amount of humidity in the air at that point. I think for those of us that had not been training in humidity, it really paid. We had to pay a price at some point in that race.
Just to speak to that, I mean, do you think this ear infection you have is an isolated thing, or do you think there might be more to that?
I don't know.
Like maybe you're getting sick. I mean, that very well could have dictated that how that race finished up for you, and it could have changed your overall race ability as well.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody here knows like when you're tapering for something, like you're always walking that fine line of like being sick and not being sick.
Yep.
I think for me it came down to I know I have better run fitness than 124 by a lot.
Oh yeah.
I know I do. The dynamics of how that race played out were tough because if you look at the really fast guys, they also ran slower.
It looked to me like you were running a 117 or maybe like 117 mid type race, and then you fell apart.
Yeah.
Which is honestly, it's just like it seems to me like first race as a pro, and it should be the first couple races as a pro. Like you should have horrible races. Like these are things that you just expect, like normal behavior for someone that's, first year pro is just basically to have a bad year. Yeah. And you didn't. Like you ran you had a PR for that race, right? Like it's crazy.
By 5 minutes, which at this point, once you're under 4:10, like a 5 minute PR is a pretty big PR. Like that was
fantastic.
That was a big PR for me. So even though those last miles were so hard, I wasn't even mad at myself as we were going, hitting that last 5K. I basically told myself, like, you just got to keep it under 8 pace. At this point, I was like, you just got to survive these last bit.
Yep.
And that was, places 10 to 15 I had seen throughout the race.
Yeah.
I know I'm at the fitness where I can be close to those guys. And it was kind of validation for me saying, like, I'm not beating these guys yet, but I'm at that level. Like I'm not out of my league here.
Yeah,
but.
we were texting back and forth, and I was like, it looks good for like top 10 because I knew your run fitness was good,
Yeah.
and I knew there's a good chance that you could hold 540s, 545s, and then that would have been top 10 probably.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
And it's good that you didn't absolutely crush it because like where do you go from there? Like
Yeah.
I feel like you need to
Yeah.
have a couple rough races, but still.
No, I agree.
it's
I
pretty
think
cool.
I think I learned a lot from I wouldn't say I learned as much as I did from St. George last year from this one, but I definitely learned a lot from this one into what I need to train like what the train needs to look like to be able to race at that level.
Fill us in, some of our listeners and your fans that also are sitting at this table. What kind of changes do you think you might make to training?
So with my training, I think I'm going to become a lot more focused on putting together longer bike intervals followed by much more like interval tempo-y sort of running. So definitely going to toss in a couple like 30-minute, hour-long solid bike efforts, and I'm not going like race effort for 30 minutes to an hour. I'm just putting fatigue in the legs for that long and then going out and doing my over-under runs.
Okay.
So that I'm starting to simulate more that it's hard in those pro races to just race your own race like we talked about. When that run dynamic starts to go, like
Yeah.
the guy who was in front of me and Pablo Gomez, we were trading spots for a little bit.
Yeah.
And that was Sergi sort of running. It really was, because you don't want to slow down when you pass somebody, because these guys are strong enough. They're gonna
Yeah, they're gonna race.
if you don't put the dagger in, they're gonna race
Absolutely.
you. So
Yeah.
it's not this like, all right, I'm gonna hold my goal pace here. No, it's you go with the race, and you happen to, if you have the energy, you glance at your watch. But
Right.
yeah. Yeah, so I think training more like that sort of race reflection style is going to be important.
Did you know anybody in the field prior to yesterday?
There were a couple guys who I had raced when I was younger that was
Gotcha.
there, which was really cool actually, just to see a couple of them how they've progressed.
Yeah. Did they remember you?
So Starkwitz had remembered me,
Okay.
just because I had known Bob and worked in the shop. Let me think. Who Clay knew me through Nate. Who
Oh, okay.
real quick. Shout out to Clay, who's an Everyman Jack guy who took his pro card this year for the second time. He had his pro card back in 2014.
Yeah.
He was 5th yesterday.
Oh, wow.
This is a man with 2 kids, full-time job. He's been racing for years and years. Like anybody in triathlon knows, like this guy is I would call him, he at one point was the best amateur in the world.
Yeah.
I'd probably put that against anybody. He had the fastest run split yesterday.
Wow.
What did he run?
He ran 1:15 low.
Okay.
He outran Matt Russell there and Matt Hansen,
Yeah.
which are the 2 best American 73 runners, I would say. Those 2 are. Now you got to throw Clay's
Definitely
name into
Matt
there.
Hansen.
Matt Russell's up there on the marathon.
Yeah, in a marathon?
In
Absolutely.
a
I
marathon,
agree.
Matt Russell's there.
And-
That is,
Yeah.
I mean, that's rarefied air. Clay's training like 16, 17 hours a week, I think, with like a job and kids. The guy is like, anybody who's like a parent and family man should look at him and be like, that is an inspiration right there. That guy's incredible. And on that course, too, it was amazing that run split. He basically ran himself into almost a podium spot. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Fantastic.
How's the etiquette out there?
It's actually friendlier than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah?
I thought it was going to be cutthroat, but like before the race, we're just like chit chat and everybody's training pumps, back and forth.
Uh-huh.
Clay, both of his tires blew.
Oh, no.
Like while he's in transition, both of his tires blew. So like people are helping him out. I think a lot of these guys have raced each other for so long too. There's like this camaraderie about it.
Yeah.
A lot like in cycling. I mean, in
Yeah,
cycling,
yeah,
you're
yeah.
racing each other every week, and
Right.
there's camaraderie there. And I think it's that way because I think everybody realizes. I knew the race was going to be hard. I did not know how hard these races are.
Gotcha.
Like, if you do 5 of those in a year, I don't know how you get through the whole year. Like
Really?
that's yeah.
It's a big load.
It is. It was a big load. There's a lot of stress going into the race because everybody's going in with A fitness. Like nobody goes into these races with B fitness unless you're the guy going to Kona who
So-
can afford a B race.
When
Yeah.
you finished yesterday,
Yeah.
like let's say you're 30 minutes, hour removed from the race.
Yeah.
What were your general feelings? I know that you started to you had to regroup and all that other stuff. And you were
Yeah.
like shellacked and all that.
We'll
fun
say
stuff.
30 minutes
But,
after.
I mean, were you like, oh my God, I don't know if I want to do this. This is going to be so flipping hard to try and keep up with these guys. Or were you kind of pumped and jacked for the next race because you want to go out there and do it again?
I think what helped me there is that I had one worry going into the race, that my bike fitness wasn't as good as I thought it was.
Mm-hmm.
That was my biggest fear. If I had gone out there and got shellacked on the bike, I would have had a completely different feeling afterwards.
Yeah.
I know I can stay with that last swim group. I know I can bike strong, and I know my run fitness is a whole lot better than what I showed. So I think that just keeping all that in mind, I got to the end there and I was like, okay, I'm standing around guys who only finished a little bit ahead of me. I think I'm able to like.
So you started crunching numbers. I could pick up a few minutes here, a couple seconds there.
I was more crunching numbers. It wasn't
Yeah.
feelings. It was more like numbers is what I was crunching. And once I was able to crunch those numbers, I was like, I think I can go under 4 this year
Yeah.
on the right course.
That's what I saw too,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, he's ready to break 4 now. Like he's ready right now.
Yeah.
And
If I'd gone like 4:10 there, I'd be looking at that and be like, this isn't the year.
I
But
think your assessment is correct. If you had gotten in that race and just gotten destroyed on the bike, then it's like it's one of those like let's say like for me, right, where you just can't bike with legit bikers, where it's just like you don't belong there. Like that's the situation.
Yeah.
But like
the bike is so important in 73 too. I definitely
gosh.
realized that yesterday.
It's
so
just
important.
The way I look at it is like it's important in triathlon.
Yeah.
It's like
It is.
swimming, not so much. Running, absolutely. Biking, absolutely.
Yeah.
Which you're there. So,
Yeah.
it should be a huge confidence booster for sure.
It was just and it was just cool getting to race it. I mean, like it was
Best in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it was racing like Matt Russell and Andrew Starkwitz and Matt Hansen is kind of a giddy experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As somebody who's been
Yeah.
like a fan of the sport for a long time. And not that I'm I mean, there were 2 races going on.
Sure.
There was the Andrew, Matt, and Matt show, and there was the rest of us. But that's, I mean, with any endurance event, you're going to get that. There's the guys who are just head and shoulders above. But just being able to like go off at the same time as them was a really, really cool sensation.
You're in the same ballpark, my friend. You're there.
Pretty cool. Pretty cool.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
Kudos to
and
you,
we
man.
all followed your race and we're cheering along and we're just your biggest fans, man.
Yeah.
I mean, just like, anyone else. It's awesome.
Yeah, it was fun watching all the social media stuff pop up yesterday too. I mean, I don't get on social media too much, but every time I would open something up just to go check something real quick, there's a post there of somebody like giving you like some kudos or posting a picture talking about what's going on with you.
This whole Dial community is awesome. I'll tell you what, I don't think there are many racers my age in their first year of pros out there that have this much people just like giving you support in every way.
Oh, that's
I
good.
mean, I feel incredibly lucky. I really do.
Fantastic.
Well, kudos to you, my friend.
Yes.
Thank you guys.
Well done.
Super
Well
Proud
done.
of you.
So we're 52 minutes into our back pedal. Matt, it's your turn.
Let me make mine
Top
quick.
it, Matt.
Right.
You gotta go 30 minutes
Yeah,
now.
I had like sick kids for like a little bit of time, and then we had spring break. We went skiing for spring break. I haven't trained much at all. It's been bad. So this week, Jake can follow up on the spring break. But yeah, so this week I gotta just get back into the groove, and I think we'll do that. And yeah, sorry, fast back pedal, go. Jake.
Nice. Matt,
mine
we're
under-
whopping 30
under a
seconds
minute?
there.
That was impressive. Yeah. Matt wins today.
My spring break back pedal is what I'm going to call because it wasn't anything race related. We took some time for the family, and I left. What was it? A week ago Saturday, and left my bike at home, which that was paining me going down to beautiful weather.
Yeah, that's
and
tough.
friends that are down there with bikes, and seeing them posting stuff up on Strava. I'm like, man, I could have brought my bike and gone on that. I could have done that. I could have done that. Nope. We went down there. We hung out with some friends, did the whole family thing, went to Disneyland, and I did PR Disneyland and I did PR California Adventure.
How many steps? How many steps do you know?
I used my little Garmin watch and I pushed start on it like I was going to go do a run, and it tracked all day long.
Yeah.
At California Adventure was a little over 15 miles
Oh my God.
the first day.
Was it like 25,000 steps? 24,000
Whatever
steps?
it is, but we
Yeah.
started at 7:00 in the morning because we had the early entrance into the park, and we beelined it over there to the Cars Land to get on the whatever that ride is called, the Cars ride, whatever that is.
Doesn't matter.
Oh, yeah.
It's-
Yeah.
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Just Radiator
Move on, Jake.
Springs.
Radiator Springs. There you go.
There it
Move on,
Thank you,
Jake.
Lance. Yeah.
And then it was just we started at 7:00 in the morning, and we didn't get back to the hotel until 9:00 at night. So
Yeah.
that's a big day of walking, especially with three
Hell of
little
a
kids.
workout.
Yeah.
Hell of a workout.
My kids all did great too. I mean,
Yeah.
they weren't crying or complaining about being tired. I mean, you would stop and eat and all that stuff. But so that was day one, and I barely made it through that. My ankle was really not feeling
That was
happy.
gonna be my second question.
So,
Yeah.
I'm still dealing, and we haven't really talked about it on this podcast much, but Evan and I have talked about it because he's my physical therapist, and I'm looking down the barrel of having to potentially have another surgery on my ankle, which isn't looking pretty. We're trying to look at some alternatives right now, but long story short, the cartilage damage that's in there and the other stuff that's problematic in there with the little bone fragments floating around was really causing it to flare up. So I was, trying to rest it and ice it and stretch it and all that other stuff as best as as I could, knowing that the next day was Disneyland, and that's a bigger park, and there's more stuff to do there.
I had to taper for that.
Oh my god! So we went and sat in the spa that night, and I tried to get myself, equaled out as much as I could. And we got up bright and early the next morning, went over to Disneyland, and it was just shy of 21 miles, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh my gosh.
It was,
That would be like a legit hiking trip.
Yeah.
Like a very legit hiking trip. Yeah.
Kudos to Disneyland. It's gotten better there with respect to the rides. They've got this new thing called Max Pass, and here we are talking about Disneyland on a cycling podcast. But
Hey, this is important. Yeah.
anyway, they've got this thing. You have to pay an extra $15 a head. Yeah, it's Disneyland taking more bucks out of you, but you actually can use your cell phone to be like the fast pass thing. So you can, as soon as you get into the park, you can select which ride you want to get on, and it gives you a time window of when to come back and use your thing. And as soon as you check in with your cell phone, you can put in the next one. So we had, throughout the course of the day, we had a fast pass all day long. You don't have to go over there to get it. You register for it while you're waiting in line for the ride that you're currently using. And then in between those two rides, you'll go and you'll plug into a couple different rides that are in between, getting from point A to point B. And on this little app that they have, it tells you exactly how long the waits are. And they were pretty accurate. I was quite surprised. So you can really be efficient with how you go about getting on all of your rides. It was spring break. This park was packed, but you never really felt like you waited in lines for too long. I mean, I think, honestly, the longest we
forgot
waited
it's
was
spring
about
break
30
for you
minutes.
guys, yeah.
It was 30 minutes, with the exception of one ride that was off.
Yeah.
They said
Yeah.
it was a 30-minute wait. It ended up being an hour wait, and was totally a waste of time. That stupid Dumbo ride. But my littlest wanted to go on it, so we all kind of sucked it up and did it for her. But we went on everything in the course of a day when the park was at, like, not capacity, but it was pretty freaking full. So
That's crazy.
yeah,
That's a cool
It was
app.
fun.
That's a tough
Speaking
workout.
of Disneyland,
Kudos to Disney. Yeah.
both of my daughters have been hired to work at Disney World for the fall semester.
That is awesome.
So both Kelty and Darby are going to spend September through January down at Disney World
First
in
of
Orlando,
all,
Florida.
the two of them together are going to have a blast.
They are going to have a blast.
Second of all, your family's going to spend some time down
Yes,
there.
we are. And Kelty, my oldest daughter, she got hired as a character.
Really?
Yes.
Which character? I can't remember.
They don't tell you till you get there.
Oh.
But
Does she have an idea?
Yeah, not really. She could be like a number of 8 different characters or something.
Huh.
So
Wow.
they're super excited.
That's pretty cool.
So
That's really cool.
Disney World for this family.
Yeah, you be careful when you go down there. Last time you went
I
down,
blew apart.
that's when your back really fell apart.
That is correct.
yeah.
I want to hang out away from some of the rides.
So, and then the rest of my week was pretty cool. We went down to Palm Springs, hung out in the sun. It was like 82 degrees every single day. Absolutely gorgeous. And we did a family trip up through Joshua Tree, which was spectacular.
So you did
Nice.
you did a lot
Saw
of
the
hiking,
pictures,
a lot of
yeah.
walking, no biking.
Zero biking.
Okay.
I was 9 days off the bike,
Wow.
which was super hard. But I got a lot of walking and got exercise and tried to eat, relatively well. Joshua Tree, I mean, we just did little mini hikes. I mean, it was really short because when you drive through there, it's a big, huge park. But you stop at all the different exhibits. You drive from one to the next and the next, and you get out and you go poke around and hike and climb on stuff. And that place, I took my camera down there. Any direction you point your camera and you just push the button to take a picture, you get a fantastic
looks
photo.
amazing.
I've got so many photos. I've been editing them now for a day and a half, and I'm still not. I'm maybe 70% done. So I'm hopefully going to have some time later tonight after everybody goes to bed to finish doing that, and I'll post some stuff up. But absolutely gorgeous, spectacular. Matt, I will be making a very killer movie for the trip as well. So I'll be posting that
boy.
up. That'll be my little maiden
Maiden voyage.
in the video editing land. So that should turn out pretty fun.
Nice.
So anyway, that was my back pedal. I'm back in action. Looking forward to getting some rides in and feeling like a big fat slob. I sat on the trainer yesterday for about 32 miles. I'm like, that was awful. That was just terrible. I felt awful the entire time, but I don't know. One foot in front of the other.
We'll
right?
just wait for a decent break in the weather, and
Yes.
we'll start to come around.
Yeah, we got hammered by a storm.
Yeah, we did.
Pretty good. So
Yeah, what's the weather look like?
And it's not. There's no end in
It's
sight
raining
for the
all
rain.
night.
Yeah.
oh,
all
yeah,
right.
I know now.
So I could ramble on here for another 20 seconds and try and make this an even hour for our back pedal. But we're gonna
Hour back
get
pedal.
to the 1 hour mark, which is a nice little segue for the 1 year mark of the Dialed Podcast. We've been doing this
yeah.
for a year, boys.
One
can't believe-
year.
Yeah.
One-
That surprises me.
Year, and we have not missed a week. We have put something out every single week for a year.
Man.
That's largely in part due to you, Jake. So
definitely
congratulations
Jake,
to
yeah.
you.
Well,
I know it's a team effort, and I absolutely agree, a team effort. But the majority of the work, has been in your lap. And
You know what?
And we
True.
appreciate it.
I
'cause
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't trade that for anything. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I think the experience that I've had out of this is like invaluable. Just the time that I get to have with you guys every week is just fantastic. We always joke like this is the best
blast.
part of the week, right?
Yeah.
It's true.
It is
Seriously.
awesome. So, and it's funny too when we all go out on a ride together. Like people will start like making little pokes and comments about, "Hey, it's the Dial Podcast, guys. Where's your microphones?
Yeah.
What are you guys going to talk
I love
about now?"
I love getting made fun of for the stuff that I say on here.
Yeah.
Like it's hilarious.
Yeah, it is.
Like I'm glad that people know I'm scared of sea lions now. Like it is really funny. Like that's
We definitely are a little too open on this podcast.
yeah.
Yes.
I like that though.
I have yet to roll into a starting line and not hear
Lance
a
Romance.
Lance Romance.
Yes.
All right, so let's get into this real quick. I don't even know if we're going to have time for our true topic, but I want to talk about this because it is kind of special. To get to that 1 year mark, I think it's a pretty monumental accomplishment, knowing that we didn't really have any hiccups along the way. Even sitting in a freaking hospital bed in the hospital, making sure that the stupid things get posted. I mean,
Unbelievable.
that happens. So, or gallivanting around the world, making sure that you're calling in for that hour
Yeah.
and change to talk. I mean,
Even if I get cut
Literally
off.
on a beach. Literally on a beach.
Literally on a beach.
so I just wanted to kind of run around the table real quick. Let's review some of your guys' favorite moments, maybe some of your favorite episodes, and what you're excited about as we move forward. Do you guys want to share anything? Does anybody have a favorite moment that they want to share?
I've got a favorite episode for sure.
Bring it.
When we did the Kona takeover, that was fun.
Oh, that was awesome.
I love that. That was. I've always
That's
had
my
this
least
like
favorite one.
I know. That's like
know
two
what?
people that's the favorite and two people that's by far the least favorite.
And I've had other people come up to me and be like, "That was my favorite episode."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Only triathletes. Yeah.
only triathletes, but still.
And
but
you guys
like,
kind of got a little bit more when we had Taryn in. Triathlon Taryn,
Yeah.
like,
Total-
oh, another
another takeover.
triathlon takeover.
That was going to be the other one for me. Was actually
it
getting
was good. Yeah.
to have Taryn on the
Yeah.
podcast was awesome. Yeah.
We've had really good guests, I
Yes.
think. And
Yes.
I think, you
Local
know,
guests,
yeah,
good
really
national
great,
guests, yeah.
like really good guests for sure. And I think, you know, as I look in the crystal ball, it seems to me like we're, we can get good guests on the podcast. Like there's enough people listening to the podcast. There's enough, I feel like, of a following that we can start to kind of recruit some really solid guests when we want to. And man, the guests we've had so far have just been, not only are they like popular and blah, 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 that's great, but like they also hold their own on the podcast. They
Yeah.
kind of hold a good conversation. They're excellent on the podcast. I think Meredith was really, really good. Meredith
yeah.
Atwood.
She was solid.
She was,
yeah.
she was great. She was hilarious. Triathlon Taryn was so good. Like we've had some great guests on the podcast.
Our boy Justin Wagner's another good
Justin
Yeah, I
Wagner,
like Justin a lot.
He's almost like
Justin was the best with banter back and forth by
I think
far,
it's almost
by
time to
far.
have him back on.
I think
again.
it is.
Yeah.
absolutely. He should. Yeah, we should
I think-
circle him in as many times.
Going
as we
into year
possibly
two,
can.
he's climbing up the list
he's
as
so
number
good,
one to come back. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also love it when it's like just the four of us. Like today, I just feel like it's the conversation never has a little bit of a lull. I just never see that, and it's just like Lance is always laughing. It's always fun. Like the four of us for sure is super enjoyable. I don't feel like we have to have a topic. I don't feel like we have to have a
And now
guest. I
for the
don't feel
next like 6 months, we're always gonna have race recaps. Which
Yes.
if I was just to pick like favorite moments, it's always just the race recaps.
Those are fun.
I just love hearing I love hearing Lance's recaps.
Yeah.
I love when me and
it's-
Matt get to talk about a race we were actually at together.
yeah.
And it's hard, right? Because it's like, Evan or Lance or whatever, they race, and I want to know their results right away. But I also want to learn about the results through the podcast.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's
Yeah.
always that challenge of like, I want to know so much, but like, please just wait 1 second. I guess I can wait until Monday or when we record
Yeah.
these. So
That's good. How about you, Lance? What do you,
One of my favorite episodes was number 30, where we talked about funny cycling stories and triathlon stories. I, of course, I'm a bit of a jokester. It's hard for me to take anything serious. So for me to tell funny stories or hear you guys' funny stories is just fantastic. But, great moments for me have been just getting to know you guys better and really enjoying the camaraderie and just knowing that you're really good people and that we can make each other better just by being around each other.
I met you the first day that you
That's
came in.
correct.
I don't think I'd met Lance yet.
I'm
I'm pretty sure I hadn't.
I knew Lance before the podcast, but I remember when he came on the podcast the first time, I was significantly quieter because I was like, "There's this guy across the table from me," and I was like, "I don't know him that well," and I just remember thinking to myself like, you know, like I remember thinking like, I'm not going to joke around as much. And then I was like, that's unfortunate. Like, I feel like I'm being more shy because Lance is on, across the table. And now, oh my gosh.
It's full on.
It's the exact opposite. I'm like, oh wait, is Lance here? Oh,
like a vortex
it's time to cut
not
off
seriousness. Yeah.
It's like clown time, like let the Zubaz.
Lance, don't crawl through your puke.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
Things have changed.
Yeah. I've really loved the feedback that we've gotten from the community on a whole. And what really makes me happy is when I get those messages or that note or that text or that email that we've inspired somebody to get back on the bike. We've inspired somebody to try a race. We've inspired someone to go out and pull somebody into the sport and get them, passionate about what it is that we all love doing, whether it be triathlon or cycling.
Yeah.
That part has been great. And I've actually heard a few stories about some women that are actually listening to the podcast, and it has helped inspire them to get on bikes. And same thing with juniors, to know that if we did all of that work just to get like a small handful of women and juniors on bikes,
that's
I would
awesome.
do it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I would do it.
For a whole another year. Yep. Absolutely.
And then some. Yeah. Just keep going. So that part is like, that's near and dear to me. And for me to know that this is helping build community, and that's one thing that I'm super passionate about. I absolutely love this, and I will keep doing this until people just absolutely don't want to listen, and I might just do it.
And even then, I would still cut like if there were 5 listeners, I'd probably still come in and talk to you guys. All day. Yeah, that's
it blows my mind too that there are people. I think the last time I counted, it's 24 different countries that people have listened to this podcast. That blows my mind.
That's crazy.
And to see
That's
that people
so
are like
funny.
actively listening in places like
Iceland. Did we have an Iceland listener?
Yeah, Iceland, Sweden, France.
Iceland is like.
I'm huge in Australia.
Exactly.
Like 24 countries you're huge in now.
All those people out there listening, that is fantastic, and we really appreciate that. So
Yeah.
I'll keep rambling on here. One of my favorite episodes, probably because it was just so therapeutic, was the one that we had right after Michael Myers passed.
True.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people who listened to that and were thankful for that, and it was therapeutic for me because Michael was really a dear friend, and to be able to sit down with you guys and be close to friends during that time and try and figure out all these feelings that we had, and having people kind of go through that process of like trying to heal and kind of wrap our heads around what happened. That was a special episode for me, and that's one that I'll probably, when we're all gone and not doing this anymore, whoever knows when that will be, I'll still have that MP3 file, and I'll probably still listen to it from time to time on November 8th, just to commemorate him. I think that was a special episode.
I remember we had the text conversation whether we should even record that day or not, because we were all feeling the loss very strong, and I'm certainly glad we did. It was, I think, very therapeutic for us and for our listeners, and to understand who he was and how much he did for all of us. So
absolutely.
And I will say I love how since that day he's been brought up again and again. And I think that's what I love about this community is it's not this taboo thing to talk about Mike. When somebody breaks away in the middle of a group ride and goes away, somebody still says they're just pulling a mic right now, or somebody's still on the front for 30 minutes of a group ride and hammers everybody. That's pulling a mic. And
what would Michael do?
Exactly. And I'm sure this race season we're going to get more and more stories from people making those references all the time, and that's that's the impact that guy had. Is he's literally a verb, a noun, and an adjective.
Exactly. Lance isn't too far behind him in that category.
Yeah, I was going to say.
We'll finally be getting our Castelli custom order in this week. They're so late getting that to us. I don't want to grumble too much. And all the other people grumbling out there with you, I'll grumble with you later at another time. But on the kit, as you guys all have seen, but I'll tell it to the listeners out there who don't know, the left armband is solid black, and we've got the MM 542. So that is Michael Myers, and that's his race number 542, and we will have that on our kits for this year to remember him. And I think that the MM 542 will basically be a permanent mainstay on our kits moving into the future, because the guy, he meant a lot to me, he meant a lot to this team, and I think that he was part of the soul of what helped bring it together. So so anything else you guys got out there to share about the old podcast?
That's a good one to end it on, because looking back, that really was one of our favorites. As a group.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I will continue to look forward to putting this together every week. I'm still I don't know if anybody picked up on this. I'm sure you guys have noticed, but when you listen to the bumpers, which is the beginning and the end, we've got our standard music that will start the very first couple seconds of the show, and then it'll transition to some other stuff and some little sound bites. But I think I went and counted. I think that it's been 30 weeks in a row of some sort of bicycle related song that I've been able to dredge up from.
How long do you think you can
interwebs.
keep that going?
I don't know. It's just
we should see how long
awesome.
that streak can go.
That's what
That's
I'm like.
too funny.
When it changes, I'll make sure to make a note
Yeah.
in that bumper. But seriously, like 30 weeks in a row.
I can think of like 3 bike related songs.
Yeah.
They're brilliant. Last week's was hilarious.
That's so awesome. I love it.
So
I do very much look forward to the bumper every single time because Jake keeps it so fresh. It's very funny.
I don't have to listen to the whole podcast, but I got to listen to that first part.
Yeah. It's like, okay, I'm going to listen later, but first let me listen to the first 20 seconds.
Yeah, they're fun to make, and I just I sit here and giggle. And like when I first started doing them, I was trying to like structure it out what it was going to be.
You were like a little bit stressed about it
Yeah,
at first.
and no joke. There was a couple of times it took me like 3 or 4 hours to put together like 15 seconds worth of like, well, not 15 seconds, about a minute and 50 or 30 seconds of stuff. And now it's just like, all right, I kind of have an idea. I know what we talked about. I try and integrate in some theme stuff into that with the little sound bites. But the music has been making it a lot easier and funner for me. But it only takes me now, I'm thinking maybe an hour-ish, depending upon how difficult times are to find stuff. But anyway, it's all fun. So cool. All right. We do have some time if we want to move on to this next topic. We don't have to get into
We can be efficient.
too much depth,
Yeah.
and maybe it'll.
We can try to make it quick.
Yeah, we can try and make it quick, and maybe there's one in particular that we can talk a little bit more about, or maybe we can parlay it into another show.
Yeah.
If it's really
that's
hot.
true. If someone brings in a topic and it's like, we can do a whole show
Hot
on this.
topic
That'd be
instead
cool
of
because
hot
then
scene.
we could allude to a future podcast, which is nice.
That's
Hey,
good.
Like
I've got a
game planning this here.
I've
for
got
everybody.
a funny one in triathlon
Okay.
that I want some opinions on.
On that note, press pause.
Uh-huh.
Our topic for today is we are each going to share a controversial opinion regarding cycling or triathlon. Evan, go.
So I'm not sure if this falls purely into opinion, but Ironman, I think it was actually last year this rule started. I may need to be corrected on this, but I think it was last year this rule started. In Ironman racing now, you are not allowed to zip down your zipper all the way.
That's
no, actually
2 years old or
The
something.
rule of the law, I think, is past your breastbone.
Yeah.
So, at the pro meeting on Saturday,
Oh yeah, you broke that rule, didn't you?
so I did. So I didn't technically break the rule by what the meeting had said. There's some controversy in this rule because it's not being enforced evenly. So what's happening is they during this meeting brought up what's now called the zipper rule and has been causing apparently a lot of issues, and that like the pros absolutely hate it. And last year it was not followed like at all. Like people were still just racing fully unzipped. Daniela Reef did
hot.
all of Kona basically unzipped because her zipper
Can't
broke.
disqualify her.
No,
She's like-
and that's what they're saying is it's hot and humid. Who cares? And so
What's the point?
So
I have no
Is it
idea.
a gender thing?
Yeah, I think so. It's like female. They don't want females basically like racing with their chest open.
But
and then
aren't they wearing sports bras?
yes, they are. But I think it's more like age groupers are wearing all kinds of stuff underneath or whatever. And so and then they were like, okay, well, we can't have a rule for females without having something similar for males. And so like that's just the line that they drew.
Yeah. You can imagine this, Drew.
Come on.
There were some groans during the meeting. And by groans, I mean, so they basically said you get a yellow card if you infringe this rule.
Yeah.
Now, how they explained it at first was the rule for this season is you cannot unzip it all the way, which means as long as it is still zipped, you're okay. That was what they said
So you
during the
zip
meeting.
you zip it up 1 inch and you're okay.
You're fine as long as it's not unzipped. Now,
That's weird.
what they said is that if they catch you with that, they're going to yellow card you. What a yellow card is a 30-second penalty. But the guy said you don't need to stop. You can just keep on running.
You serve it at the end, basically.
No, you just keep running.
Okay.
So Starkowitz obviously raises his hand, asks a completely reasonable question, and says, that doesn't make any sense. Yellow card means 30 seconds. And now there's this question between the two guys trying to explain the rule, and they're not even agreeing on it all of a sudden. One guy said one thing, and the other guy said the other.
Right.
And the other guy was like, no, you don't need to stop. Just as long. They after about a 5-minute discussion, came down to this. Don't be a jerk to us about it, and as long as you zip up, you're fine.
Yeah.
That was what it came down to. So
So when we catch you, Too
just
far
don't be a
unzipped.
jerk. He literally said, just don't tell me to go myself. Is all he said. He was like, as long as you don't do that, you're fine. Just zip up.
In the real, I think it really comes down to like, hey, they want to have a rule on the books,
Yes.
so that age groupers, not necessarily. I
get
don't
up
think they
in a
care that
hissy
much about
about
the
it.
pros
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like, hey, there's the rule. You guys should follow this rule.
Yeah.
Especially, if you're an age grouper or whatever
So
it is.
here's where the rule wasn't even being enforced correctly. I come off the bike. I even consciously in my head think, all right, I have to zip this thing far enough down that it's still zipped.
Right.
So I go down roughly mid-stomach area. I don't know, not that low. Mid-stomach area. Running quarter mile in. Official on the side goes, zip up, zip up. At that point, I obviously was not going to argue. I just
And you were
immediately
like,
zipped up.
go F yourself.
Yeah. And then unzipped all the way and just
That's
took
right.
off my clothes and ran. But yeah. No, so going into Chattanooga this next
Evan's
race.
naked again.
Yeah, the Chattanooga race, I have no idea what the rule is. No clue.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's
anybody
like,
does.
It's,
Chest.
chest. Yeah.
Chest. No, they did say you have to be fully zipped when you cross the finish line, and there were
really?
tons of guys who were not fully zipped coming across the finish line. So
I remember reading that rule and thinking about it in Arizona or whatever, because it's like, what happens? Do you like
who is mentally there enough at a finish line who's not like winning the race?
And I'll tell you the answer to that. Another age grouper who you beat or whatever, or took his Kona slot or something like that, will raise a fuss and be like,
Oh,
this
God.
person broke
I
the
hope
rules.
it doesn't become that.
Well, and here's the thing. It's like, I've seen people that have lost Kona slots because they took a chapstick from their
Yep.
wife,
Yep.
right? Like that happened. And that like, even like the wife put chapstick down on the ground and he grabbed it and picked it up. Like
I'm
there's like,
fine with that though, because the spirit of the sport is it is an independent sport.
Yeah.
That is technically outside help.
okay. This is not outside
The
help when
zipper.
you zip
I mean,
your
what
thing
is
down.
this? Yeah. What are we
But-
talking aesthetics? Like this is a
but-
sport people used to race Speedos.
But if this is if this is the rule though, then you kind of have
you
to
do have
say,
to follow it.
Can you
But
still wear a Speedo out there? I know that you wouldn't, but can you?
You can. Colin Lafferty raced in a Speedo.
Can you
which
wear
is
it?
fine, but you have to have so
He had to wear a top that zipped
have
up
to
all the
wear
way.
a top.
But he was wearing a Speedo.
What if you wore
more
like
power
a thong
to him.
Speedo out there just
So
to piss
much
him off?
power to him. Colin's the man. That was awesome to see him racing a Speedo.
You don't want to see my navel, but check
Yes,
this out.
exactly. Yeah. Don't worry, it zipped up all the way.
there was some pro guy, and I can't remember what his name was, but he always was in the
Ferris
top.
Al Sultan.
Yeah.
Yep.
He's coaching now, I think.
Yeah, he is.
And
Yeah, he was a legend, yeah.
He is a legend, absolutely. Always Speedo, always in the top 10 at Kona.
Yeah.
Like just
he won
just-
once too, didn't he?
I don't
He
think
was
so.
close. I think he was. He may have been like second one year.
Yeah.
He's
But-
like one of the greatest to never win
No.
it. Yeah.
Yeah,
He was right
absolutely.
there though.
He
Yeah.
won once.
Did he win once? What year?
Wrong.
I don't know.
Lance wrong.
Ooh.
But I'm
Bet.
doing
There's
my
no missions.
own. Here's
Here we
my
go.
own controversy right now.
There's no missions.
Let's
Ferris
bet,
Al Sultan.
sparkling water on it.
I think I remember him drinking the giant Erdinger beer. Maybe that was because it was
Roth.
Ironman Germany.
That may have been Roth. Yeah.
I'm gonna shut up now.
All right, Matt, do you have a controversial statement that you would like to make or an opinion?
Controversial opinion.
Yes.
It is my opinion that race directors should lie to all of their participants and tell them that there's going to be drug testing at the race.
Yes.
And they should make it extreme, like we're going to drug test 1 out of every 10 of you or something extreme like that, right? So I think we just looked it up and I am correct.
2005.
Oh, he won?
He
He
won in
won.
2005.
All right, Lance.
He did.
I'll buy you a drink.
I win
Boom.
something.
Yeah, so it is my opinion that race directors should lie, tell people they are going to drug test more, and that I think it, and I personally believe that will shake out people that
I
are
agree.
taking drugs and thinking that they can, do stuff. And in all of the literature, they say we are drug testing and low testosterone. There is no therapeutic exemption. Like they should specify that and put it in writing and put it in there so that people know, like, hey, I've got low T or whatever it is. Like that's cool. Like you've got
Every
your low T
male
problem.
over 40 has low
Thank
T.
you.
Sure.
Thank you.
But like,
Unless you're a post-chemo patient, I don't want you taking
well, no, like
in racing,
it's
yeah.
like that's fine. Like you have this agreement with your doctor that you're going to take whatever this medicine is. Don't race. You don't come race or whatever. Or the threat is that you're publicly potentially going to be, cast out as like a drug cheat, right? Because that's what you are if you break the rules. So even if you're not going to pay to have drug testing at your race, I think race directors should say that they're going to drug test. because I think it would shake out a lot of people.
How big of a problem is it in triathlon? I have no idea.
I don't know, to be honest.
This is the quote.
Yeah, I really don't know.
Rumblings say that in the ITU fields and draft legal, it is an issue. And in duathlon at the top level back in the 90s and early 2000s, it was a big issue.
Gotcha.
Do I think it's an issue as much over like the guys that I raced yesterday? I don't think anybody in that group's doping, to be completely honest.
So. Here's the thing.
I really don't think so. No, nobody's getting paid well enough.
Yeah. Here's what I think. I think it's really bad when you have like 40-year-old plus guys because they start to see performances drop. But I also think that one of the things that scares me is that triathlon doesn't have any positive tests. Like there's not a lot of people getting busted in triathlon, and there should be.
There absolutely should.
There should be if they're drug testing. Yeah. Or if they're really doing their job, there should be positive tests.
Are they physically testing though?
I don't think so.
They
That's like USAC does.
I don't think anybody got tested yesterday.
Huh.
That's ridiculous.
I'm pretty sure nobody got tested.
For a race of that caliber, there should probably at least
I could be wrong. Maybe Starkowitz said he'd be the only one, and I would roll over dead if Starkowitz ever tested positive. That guy is so like morally driven in everything he does. There's no way.
Here's the thing.
There's no way. Yeah.
And at the collegiate championships, we like tons of us get drug tested. Like tons of us. Like I got drug tested at the end of NCAA cross country championships, and I was like back of the pack. Like, tons of people got drug tested. You're talking, out of a field of 200, 300 people, like 10% of that whole field got drug tested, which is awesome.
And I would have loved to get drug tested yesterday.
Absolutely.
Being 15th, I would have had to, it would have taken me 30 minutes to get my stuff together to be able to do that. But
like, that's what you want. You want to be like, hey, awesome. Yeah, drug test.
Because I know if they're drug testing me, they're drug testing everybody else.
Okay, so drug testing, it's primarily urine-based?
Yep.
Okay, so
for that, it's the cheapest way to do it.
I understand, and that shouldn't cost very much money to take a urine sample and run it through a centrifuge or a machine.
Comparatively to like
come up with an expensive way to.
No, it's a dip. It's even cheaper than that. It's not a centrifuge. You just dip, a piece in there in your urine. But here's the thing: it's not that. It's the having certified people that accompany an athlete after the race. Like there's a process to it, and so. That's the part that ends up being more expensive. And having all these people you're flying people in to drug test. Okay, basically.
So let's say your standard average triathlon that you guys are going to. Let's say just even why.
Yep.
Okay, how many people show up to one of those races?
To a Y, 400 usually.
500. Yeah, let's say 500. Yeah.
If you had every single person tack on $3 to $5 for the registration fee, nominal fee, they're not going to fill it. Okay, you don't get to buy a Starbucks that week. Yeah. And that goes to pay somebody to come out and do drug testing. Yep. That's going to cover that and more. Yep. And you're going to have this problem solved within your sport.
Also,
why aren't we doing that?
Ironman's pro registration fee, what goes into that $800, is me paying for my own drug testing.
Yeah, which I think is okay.
I may not get drug tested this year, which means I paid for nothing.
Sure.
Yeah.
But and I don't even know who's getting tested.
And for OBRA, I mean, this has come up in discussions on our board, and it's come up in discussions just in the community as a whole. And there's people that you kind of will raise your eyebrow to, like, I don't know, that I see some signs and
seems a little fishy.
Exactly. You're getting pretty damn strong, and you're not getting any younger.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So for OBRA, we only pay $35 a year for a license fee.
Yeah.
What if we bump that up to
38? Would anybody even notice?
$75?
It should be that much. It should be, I think people will get upset if you cracked $100.
Yeah,
but
I don't like it when they raise raise
Yeah.
fees just for sake of raising fees. I sit on the OBRA board, and the team fees were raised. They were doubled this year, and we get nothing more for that. And the recognition that the teams get, or the way that they promote the teams, that's something that I could probably go off on a controversial topic as well. I don't agree with how they do this. The way that they could be riding the backs of teams to build the community even more would be great. And if they're putting money towards that to help build the community, then fine, raise the fees 100% like they did. But still, they did that and nobody batted an eye at it. Now, I don't want to see us raise fees for the individuals just for sake of raising fees, just to put more money in the coffers to do God knows what.
Yeah.
If they're going to say we're going to raise fees and it's going to go towards like a drug testing program, I'm all about that. Or it's going to go to maybe offset some other costs that are like causing attrition in the road racing scene. I'm all about that too.
What would be even better is if they were like, the OBRA fees are $35. And you have to pay this extra $10, like it's there in writing, like you see it, like extra $10 for drug testing.
Sure.
Because that's just that reminder. Like I don't even think they have to do drug testing. It's just the reminder that it's there.
Right.
Like you will be tested, or there is such a fear of being tested that I just think people just wouldn't show up to races.
Yeah, it's
of
in
course. Then you have the fear of like, do you lose people? Do you lose participants because they're not gonna
probably,
pay?
I think that's a race director's
But you're a race director,
worry.
right? You're a race director, and
Yeah.
you're like, I don't want to lose.
In
a
that
single
same breath, you know how
participant.
many people just throw their hands up there? I'm like, this isn't for me. These guys are too fast or too strong. They're all animals out there.
Yeah.
And if it's a select group of people that are, maybe sandbagging or they're doping for whatever reason, you're not going to be able to keep up with them. Then you're turning those people away from the sport. So it might be a
You
little
think
bit
it
of a
might
wash.
be a balance?
Yeah.
It's hard
Or-
to say. Yeah.
Those people that are potentially doping and they're now seeing that they're going to get called out, they're still going to love the sport. They're still going to love racing, and it might hurt their ego a little bit, but
You think they'll stop?
I don't know if they'd stop. I think they would stop doping
Yeah.
and maybe carry on with the sport, but I don't know.
I think that there's so many weekend warriors for triathlon, and the other piece would be like running races where they're not even thinking about like drug tests. Like that's not even a
Right.
thought process for them. So if they would need to read that in writing, like, hey, there's no therapeutic, there's no exemption for testosterone or whatever it is. That would be for, I don't know. Part of me thinks like, hey, if these are weekend warriors and they're gonna do their first 5K, most of the time they're gym rats and they are on whatever it is from their doctor or whatever. Like part of me is like, gosh, I kind of want them to come do it. I would love for them to do it and then decide like, oh, I really want to do this sport. I can't be on this drug if I want to do this thing. So part of me wants to be like, like, hey, here's this is exposing people to the sport that hopefully they can do something different medically or whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know if there's a solution. I love the idea of like race directors just saying they're going to do it even if they don't do it, just because I think it's like there's not a lot of consequences to that other than you don't even have to pay for the drug testing. You're not
I'm
gonna
on
do
board
it.
with that. Yeah.
Just like tell people you are, and then they won't be out there racing, and I don't know. So
Yeah.
I
Even
could
if you,
definitely-
I mean, you don't even have to boldface lie. You could just say, we reserve the right to test anybody. It doesn't mean that
Yeah.
you are going to, but
I know. Yeah, but
that's a little bit more direct. And it's like, ooh, they're going to test. I'm not showing up to that.
if you had to like click on something that you had read that, like that's
Yeah.
enough to me. Like I just think it's just enough to scare people away.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Lance, be controversial.
Well, mine's not super controversial, but it's very prevalent in my mind. Glasses or no glasses?
Oh, man.
This really affected me yesterday, and
Glasses all day long.
I go no glasses.
Unless you're if you're riding by yourself and stuff's not flinging up off your front wheel, you could probably get away with it. But it's not worth losing your vision over.
Right.
What? So, in a muddy, nasty, dirty race, how do you keep your glasses clean?
Bring multiple glasses or bring something to clean them. That's all I can recommend. I mean, Oakley
make all kinds of weird
Oakley
stuff.
makes like these little bottles. They're not very big, and they actually, if you buy one from Oakley, I used to live next to the Oakley headquarters, and there was little Oakley shops all over the place. So I could walk into any of the stores, and they will refill it for free anytime, as long as you have the little cylinder, and they'll give you the little microfiber cloth. And you on there and wipe it off and put it back on and keep going. Now it's going to screw up your race times, but if you think about it, how many times did you slow down, or how much of a time penalty was it because you couldn't see yesterday?
I did not sprint for the line because I didn't see it coming.
Don't some of them
So
not, like,
yeah. Second
So-
place.
Or we have a deal now with 100% sunglasses. Guess what else they make? Race goggles. We're going to get you some motocross goggles with some
Yeah.
tearaways.
I
Race is
honestly
going
think
to
in a
Lance is
race
going to be
like
out there
that-
with like full on race motorcycle goggles.
Nobody
and
would even
tearaways.
look at you weird in a race like that with that sort of
honestly,
weather.
it would have been brilliant if you had
So
that.
Can you
Yeah.
imagine if you had those goggles on when you went bombing
So-
by those guys down there and you did
Oh,
like
yeah.
motorcycle sounds when you're going by?
Also, that like Rain-X stuff you gave me, Matt, worked
Oh.
great. Could you put some Rain-X on the inside?
Hey, there you
and
go.
put some repellent on the outside.
What's the stuff that you put on your
Yeah.
windshields up here in the Pacific
It's
Northwest?
Rain-X.
Is
I
it
use
Rain-X?
some type of Rain-X
There's another
thing.
Yeah.
brand that's supposed to be even better than the Rain-X, and I have it out in the garage. I can't remember what it's called. I bought it like 2 years ago, and I still haven't
Aquapel.
something like that, and I haven't even put it on my truck yet.
Yeah, I
maybe
like
something like that.
Yeah.
Worked well, yeah.
Yeah.
I needed it. It was brutal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see Lance with giant goggles on. His
So do I. Yeah.
I actually
Don't do the Rain-X,
I don't
go to
think
goggles.
I don't think it would look crazy at all if you had goggles like motocross goggles.
Anyway,
Anyway,
about-
rad.
That's right.
nice.
Those-
Move the 80s.
Those guys do
movie.
like enduro races in those, so they got to be great.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
So
Jake,
should they have a